Welcome, everybody, to episode 75 of the Serial Chillers podcast from the Super Network studio. I'm here with hellagreg and his bunker across the internet. How goes it, hellagreg?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good to hear. Sorry.
Put some respect on my name.
Yeah, sorry about that. You tell that to Uncle Tacitus. So, I wanted to throw, we're trying to mix things up a little bit. So, we just at the top of the show want to let you guys know, if you want to reach out to us anyways, do it, please. We always want to hear from you. Do it on Facebook, Serial Chillers Podcast. The Instagram is at Serial Chillers Podcast. You can do it. How else, Greg? Gmail, serialchillerspodcast@gmail.com. You can call or text the show, 1-805.
805, yeah, 666-2513.
Twitter as well. Well, are you surprised we got a 666 number?
I'm so surprised you got a 666 number.
We did good.
Yeah.
Twitter's at Chillers Podcast. We're just trying to kill this at the top, you guys. Nobody listens to an outro. So, hello, Greg. You're good.
What?
We're live. We're live in the Super Network studio. We've got two returning guests here on the show. Welcome back, fan favorite, Mama Shai.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Happy New Year. It's probably way past that when I hear this.
It will be. Welcome back. What, this is like your third or fourth time on the show, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
It's been around a minute. Welcome back, my brother, Clayton.
Haven't quite hit fan favorite status yet, but
It's okay. You'll get there one day. A lot of people are still reaching for it,
yeah.
You guys know how the show works. Let me explain it for anybody that doesn't. Each week, I sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell them the story of an infamous serial killer. Throughout the show, you guys can chime in on my story. And if you brought a story of your own that is true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious, please feel free to share it. I think we have a Mama Shai story today.
We do have a Mama Shai story today.
There we go. Lastly, if you have questions about the questions, make sure to ask questions because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never ask questions.
So ask them questions.
Mm-hmm. Are there any questions?
Not yet.
All right. Well, then welcome to and let's play the Serial Chillers podcast. Yes. All right. Today's serial killer. Tell me, have you guys heard of Joseph Paul Franklin?
No.
I don't think so.
I bet you have and you didn't even know it until
Probably
right
so.
now.
Yeah.
Yep. As always, question number one. In what year was Joseph Paul Franklin born? And we're going birth dates now. If you guys can nail a birth date, 1,000 points. So just go ahead and put a whole birthday on there. What is his birthday, including year? That's the new question. It doesn't roll off the tongue as well. Feverishly scribbling away. Okay. You got yours written down? Clay says November 12th, 1954.
Yep.
Shai says February 2nd, 1944. Clayton wins. Shai, you were closer to the birthday. Clayton, you were closer on the year because he was born April 13th, because that's not how it works. April 13th, 1950. Yes, so very close on the April 13th, 1950. He's born in Mobile, Alabama as James Clayton Vaughn Jr. So that's his original name. Yeah. James Clayton Vaughn Jr.
My namesake?
In Mobile, Alabama. He's the eldest son of James Clayton Vaughn Sr. and Helen Ray Vaughn, and brother to Carolyn, Marilyn, and brother Gordon. So he's the oldest of all of his siblings. Not a lot about his very young life. We know that when he was 7 in 1957, he was in a severe bicycle accident. So I think just, a normal kid fall down accident, but he had some really bad traumatic head injuries. I also think they were kind of like, you're good. It's like 1957 Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah.
Let him sleep it off. He's all right.
Give him some aspirin.
Yeah, I don't know very many details other than they say that he had a very bad head injury at the age of 7 due to a bicycle accident. And I, again, don't believe there was any treatment taken. So the next year, his father abandons the family. He didn't want the work of handling a kid who had busted his melon on a bicycle accident. That's not true. I just made that up. So, his dad would return on occasion to see the kids and also, I think, to beat them a little. His sister Carolyn recalled, quote, whenever our dad came to visit, he'd beat us. And our mother, the mom had Vaughn Sr. jailed twice for public drunkenness. So that's all. She wasn't saying that they were beating on him, but she wanted him out and was like, this guy's too faded to be here. I need you to get him out of here. So,
she was one of those moms that was maybe not necessarily or the guy wasn't necessarily just out and about. Like she had him arrested and he was in jail, and then she just couldn't tell the kids that he was in jail.
I don't think that's impossible, but I think he kind of returned on his own fruition, did some ass kicking, and then she sent him. It only says that she only sent him to jail twice.
Crazy that he came back to kick some ass. I mean, usually you come back to
that may not have been why he came back, but he came back to a nice comfy home that he can get all faded in, and then I guess while I'm here,
I like to imagine that he just like has a moment while he's in a bar somewhere, and he's like, you know what, those kids need a good ass kicking.
I'm heading over the right.
Send me my keys
right now. So. Their mother was far from perfect. She is described by a family friend as, quote, a full-blooded German, a real strict perfectionist lady. So, yeah. Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure how to take the quote.
Just remember that all hot takes can be edited.
Yeah. So full-blooded German, a real strict perfectionist lady. Yeah. So
Clayton, I've read ahead. There will be some hot takes.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. So he later stated that he was rarely given enough to eat and suffered severe physical abuse as a child, and that his mother, quote, didn't care about him or his siblings. He claimed that the abuse and the not getting enough food and seeing the kind of physical and emotional abuse on his siblings too took a lot out of him. He said that he had stunted emotional development. He said that pretty much his whole life he felt like emotionally and like maturity-wise, he was always like 10 years behind everybody else. You know what I mean? People got into their 20s and he still felt like a kid emotionally. And he understood that it was a problem, but he knew that he felt like that. And that was
pretty interesting.
Yeah. Again, that's also his kind of turn on the story. So
yeah, his own twist on it.
We never know. We're going to find out, like most people, that this guy's a real fuckface.
Oh, boy.
He wasn't a nice guy.
Negatron. So, I mean, yeah, he said that he wasn't given enough to eat. He was beaten. He had a lot of emotional damage from watching his siblings be beat as well. Question number 2. He's going to steal a book that is going to change his life forever. What book? Is it A, Flowers for Algernon, B, the Bible, C, Mein Kampf, or D, the Communist Manifesto? Okay.
I was going to guess it before you even listed the...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A couple guesses for Hitler's lovely little book, Mein Kampf, and a couple people scoring because, yes, in 1965, he stole a copy of Mein Kampf. That's right. He didn't even purchase it for himself like a dick face. Around the time, he developed an interest in evangelical Christianity. Then, obviously, very clearly heads to Nazism, and later held memberships in both the National Socialist White People's Party and the Ku Klux Klan. So he's involved. You'll see. We're going to see him join some fucking groups. You'll see. Yeah, never mind. I was going to spoil something, but we'll wait. 1967, he's now 17. He drops out of Murphy High School at the end of his junior year. Through high school, he was a pretty big outcast. I couldn't really find anything about him being bullied. I don't think that was the case. I just don't think anybody paid any mind or attention to him. He just kind of did his thing in the background, in the shadows, and nobody, he's like one of those guys that you're like, hey, do you remember this guy? And you're like, but he was there the whole time with you. It makes you feel kind of like an asshole, but I think that's exactly how this motherfucker is. So he's out of high school now. He's so close into your junior year. Just get that senior year done, dude. 1968, February, he meets Bobby Louise Dorman, who's 16, and marries her 2 weeks later, and they get a divorce only 4 months after the wedding. So within just a little bit over 1/3 of 1 year, they met, were married, and were divorced.
Huh.
A whirlwind love affair, let's say. And again, another one where there's not... This is like what it said. This is the cliff note for it on every single write-up about him. It's like, they met, they got married, they dipped. I have no idea why. I'm guessing because he was like a Nazi, super into Mein Kampf.
Maybe.
It could have had something to do with it, I suppose.
I wonder if she knew. I wonder.
probably
I wonder if
didn't
she knew
know.
going into it.
I think you're going to see later that this isn't the dude who's really hiding it.
Oh.
You know?
Well, I mean, I wonder if she was like, if she knew about it and was like, "Oh, I can change him,"
Oh, I see.
or
And then found out she couldn't.
or maybe like, "Oh, it's not that bad."
And then he's
and
like
like-
leaving in his fucking clan whole get up. He's got the pointy hat on. He's like, all right, hon, I'll see you. Don't wait up.
Right. Well, yeah. Like every time he stands up to go somewhere, he clicks his heels and like
Oh,
Your
so
steps.
awful. Yeah. You just
just
hear
across
you,
the living room.
you hear him coming down the hall because it's just going. So,
Shouts in German during lovemaking.
yeah. So, sorry, German people. You're taking the brunt of this one, I suppose. Canadians, you're off the hook for tonight. So in the 1960s, Franklin was obviously very inspired by Mein Kampf. He wanted to start a race war after reading Mein Kampf. Quote, I've never felt that way about any other book that I've read. He would reflect later, quote, it was something weird about that book. So he claims like the book took hold of him. He didn't have a choice. Like this book was, this
his soul.
is right and I am right. And before we go any further, we have many types of killers. We have missionary killers who think they're doing it for God, and they think they're right. They're going and killing, and they understand that murder is bad, but God's telling them to do that murder. So that's not a bad thing. You're directly being asked by God to do it. This guy just really hated Jewish people and black people. So it's not traditional in the sense that he was a psychopath that didn't care, that just needed to kill, who had an urge. It wasn't a sexual.
It's kind of motivated. It was like motivated by something.
100%.
Hate and
He's gonna traverse the country. He's gonna hit a lot of corners. You're gonna see when we give you the locations that they're just like all over, and he's gonna find anybody who racially he doesn't like, and that's kind of how he chooses his targets. Ted Bundy chose women who parted their hair in the middle and were brunette because they looked like his first girlfriend. Jeffrey Dahmer kind of liked had his type, young, nubile men. His type was just anybody who was not like him. He saw them as subhuman, just like a lot of the people who kill sex workers, the people who kill, whatever they think. They're usually in their mind they've justified. Hey,
Why they're doing it.
Yeah, this is a piece of the earth that does not need to be here anymore. I should eradicate it. Therefore, I will be the hero. So in 1970, we're going to flip over. We're in the 70s, guys. This is the time of love, right? He begins just like openly and loudly insulting mixed race couples wherever he is, whenever he is. He's like at McDonald's and he's just like, you are subhuman. You cannot have sex with that. That is a black man. I'm imagining the wording was much stronger, but he like this was his new hobby. He's like, well, you know what? I'm going to shame him in public then. You think that a black man and a white woman belong together? Do you think these Jewish people can just be out here eating at the same Long John Silver's that I dine at? I think not. So you look like you want to say something. Nope, nothing. It's tough. It's tough. It's
Sorry, I had the hot take button hit.
Yeah, it's very I was even like teetering on even doing this because we've never done anything where the killings were racially motivated. Unmotivated seems, or like just a random killing spree seems not as bad as what this fuckface is up to the whole time. So I apologize for any sensitive things that happened during the stretch of this episode, but this guy was he was brutal, and he was not interested in being very politically correct. Mein Kampf, remember? So he's going to join the Alabama National Guard, Roll Tide, in 1972. It wouldn't last long because he would get a conviction for carrying a concealed weapon in Fairfax, Virginia. He was pulled over after he was reportedly staking out the neighborhood of an interracial couple. So he's like stalking out their fucking
them.
neighborhood, and someone was like, hey, this fucking guy's been hanging out outside this house for like 2 days. So police roll up, and he's like, no, me, I was just parking here hanging out, and they pull him out, and there's a gun in
On
the
your way,
vehicle.
officer. I'm with the National Guard. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
exactly. So he is taken out of the National Guard at that point. I believe he was in for just 4 months. 1973, he's now 23 years old. He's going to join the National States Rights Party. That's the one that sounds the least racist through all of it. In 1973, he begins selling and distributing a racist newspaper called The Thunderbolt. This guy, I fucking hate this guy so much.
He's totally committed to the cause.
Yeah, yes. And in 1976, it feels like this is where you're always reaching for, right? 1976, at 26 years old, he joins the Ku Klux Klan in Atlanta, Georgia. So he's actually going to quit after just a few months. Question number 3. He would leave after a few months, as we know. Why? Was it A, too many rules? B, he didn't like that he had to pay fees? C, the lack of the group's violence? Or D, he didn't like that he had to work his way up the ladder? A la Mr. Burns and the Stonecutters. Too many rules, didn't like that he had to pay fees, lack of the group's violence. He did not like that he had to work his way up the ladder. Clayton says, too many rules. Shai says, the lack of the group's violence. Shai's going to tie it up right here, 500 apiece, because, he was like, dude, this is the fucking Ku Klux Klan. This is boring.
I want to go be violent.
You guys are just drinking beer and, like, talking
Talking
about
bad.
hating black people. Like, I want to go hate black people.
I want to go burn their houses down.
Yeah, that can you? I don't know. It's unfathomable to me to be
I do
like,
not agree
I'm
with
going to
that,
join
though.
this fucking racist hate group, and then like a few months in, you're like, oh, this isn't hardcore enough for me.
He thought he was getting something that he wasn't.
Yeah. So September 6th, 1976, he's now 26 years old. He tailed a black man with a white date for most of an evening. Once the two became aware of him, they tried to elude him. So apparently he was like following them, honking the horn behind him. Like he could see a black man and a white woman in the car and was like, no, fuck this. So finally they pull over and he kind of like walks over to the car and they roll the window down and he just sprays mace into the car. So this is in Montgomery County, Maryland.
Lord.
He just follows them for a while and sprays some fucking mace right in their face as they're sitting in their car. Later, October 76, he sends threatening letters to newly elected President Jimmy Carter. Who's sending threatening letters to that delightful man?
Come on, send
He's
us
a
some
peanut
peanuts.
farmer.
It's like Henry Fonda.
So he, like, this is something today. Like, if you send a fucking threatening letter
you're
to a
going
new
down.
president, like, yeah, you're on a list, and they're like outside your house peeping you out, if not taking you in. I think they're like, Mr. Carter, we got this letter, and he's like, that's okay. So, it was. The letter was received, but almost immediately destroyed, is what the story is on it. In 1976, he's going to change his name. He's like, dude, listen, I hate this name. I don't like Clayton. Sorry, Clayton. So he's going to change his name to Joseph Paul Franklin in honor of Paul Joseph Goebbels and Benjamin Franklin. Goebbels, you might remember from that photo where he like looks fine and then he's fucking peering into the soul of the camera on the next one. And it's because he found out the photographer was a Jewish man. He's real big piece of shit. Benjamin Franklin, America. Question number 4. He's going to commit a major crime. What crime is it going to be? Is it going to be A, arson, B, murder, C, assault with a deadly weapon, or D, bank robbery? How far has he escalated? Is he just burning shit? Is he killing shit? Is he robbing a bank, or did he beat somebody? Clayton says arson. Shai says arson. Answering the same. Congratulations on that, but it's not going to get you any points.
Shit.
0 points for both of you. It's still a 500-point tie. Greg, there's only 8 questions today, so you might need to be ready on the tiebreaker. We never know what's going to happen here. So he's going to commit. He's going to commit his first major bank robbery. We got Plato now too.
Oh, man.
He commits his first major bank robbery
Wait, what?
in Atlanta,
robbery.
Georgia.
Oh,
That was my second guess.
So bank
I
robbery.
didn't see that.
Yeah. July 25th. And that's kind of so. Stop here and just know that he like sees himself as an outlaw. He kind of almost dresses a little cowboy,
Like a vigilante, like a bandit.
but like a Red Dead Redemption. Like he sees himself like wearing the cowboy hat, and which he does.
Oh,
and he's robbing. This is how I'm going to make my money. I'm going to rob these banks. But that's not what he sounds like. That was just what I imagined a cowboy would sound like. So yeah, like we're going to see him also traverse the country doing this. Like it's like he starts running low on money, and he's like, yeah, I'll just go ahead and rob another bank. I think whatever plan he had, like he obviously he's going to admit to him later, but he never gets caught up in a fucking bank robbery. He holds it down in the game. July 25th, 1977, he's going to bomb the home of Jewish leader Morris Amate. The bomb was said to go off early and was not as powerful as expected. A small fire broke out, but no one was home, and the fire was extinguished, and no one was harmed. Just so you know, Morris J. Amate is the former executive director of the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. He's currently the vice chairman of the Jewish Institute for National Security Affairs and is the founder and treasurer of the Washington Political Action Committee. So, like, he put a bomb on somebody, like, fairly important in the Jewish community's house. Like, he was ready to cause real fucking havoc. It doesn't work. July 29th, 1977, he firebombs Beth Shalom Synagogue in Chattanooga, Tennessee, totally destroying it. Loss of life was prevented only because there were not enough worshipers that evening for a minyan, and the rest of the congregation left early. So you have to have 10, I guess, for a Jewish ceremony of the minyan. I was trying to read up on it. I fucking suck at religion. But you need 10, and there wasn't 10 people there, so they're like, fuck it, we'll get it going another night. And they all dipped early, and he rolled up like, I'm going to fucking get those guys in the middle of minyan. Ah! And they had already left. So he firebombed the place with I'm guessing Molotovs. It doesn't really get too descriptive, but yeah, there's nobody there. But he did burn the entire fucking synagogue to the ground. Let's take a little break right there. We'll come back. We'll do Mama Shai's story, and we're going to finish this fucking crazy-ass story with Joseph Paul Franklin. Come back or I'll kill you.
I feel blessed right now in this moment at my best, walking down the path of my success. Work for what you want in life, progress, so you know what you signed up for.
Welcome back to episode 75 of the Serial Chillers podcast. You guys know where you are. We're going to keep it short and sweet as we head into a Mama Shai classic. I set the bar high, so...
Mine's short and not sweet.
It's not sweet, but short from
Yes.
Mama Shai. Show us what you got!
Well, with Christmas behind us, I'm going to bring you a Santa story. Aww. Sorry, it's just not going to be a
You
good
do the
one.
Covina Massacre.
So, ooh, that was loud, sorry. A man working at Walmart as Santa was busted in connection with the death of his 2 children. Elwin Cocker Jr. was 14 years old, who vanished 2 years ago in 2016. His sister Mary, 14, who was last seen in October, was also missing. Investigators were called to do a welfare check at their home last week. They were told that 14-year-old Mary was missing. After deputies questioned everyone inside the family's home, they said that the family was lying, and they knew it. They claimed that Mary went to live with her mother.
They're just like feeding him some bullshit. And the cops
Yeah,
are like,
and the cops
fucking
knew
right.
something. You know, from what it sounded, I mean, there's not a whole lot, but the family just sounded like a...
Yeah, it's pretty much their job to look at people and be like, yeah, this guy's
you're
lying.
You're trash. So the deputies returned with a search warrant.
She hard.
And not hard, but they found Mary's body buried just feet away from the home. And the body of her brother.
It's like a
was also
shallow
found close
grave, do
by.
you know?
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
a couple feet of dirt.
They just said
kinda-
it wasn't even hard to find. It was just, and they didn't even take the effort to, try to hide it or anything.
Yeah, I never got the shallow grave thing.
It was just like
Yeah.
a loose, unturned
Yeah,
dirt
it was
under
like-
a
with his
pile of
children.
leaves.
Yeah, right outside the front door. Just we're gonna dig a little hole
Outside the
and-
front door?
front or back door. I can't
Okay.
remember, but it was right outside the door.
Hey, Mike, what are you doing? Burying my kids. Yeah, I feel
Nothing
like...
good is ever buried in a shallow grave.
No,
Yeah, it's never treasure.
No.
It's always corpses.
Why is treasure always so hard to find? All right, sorry, Shai, go on.
it's okay. So, Erwin and Mary had both been enrolled in school, but they were withdrawn to being homeschooled before they were last seen. Neighbors said they would often see Mary working in the yard and doing outside chores. Neither Elwin or Mary were ever reported missing. The family had been reported numerous times to the Division of Family and Children's Services in the past.
So, like, people are seeing, like, from afar how fucked up these kids are being treated.
Yeah,
and calling
one
in
guy
about it.
said, a kid that Mary went to school with said that her hands were like deformed. He couldn't explain it. He just said they weren't normal because the work that she had to do in the yard. I don't know if she was picking stuff that,
She just had, like, gnarled hands
Yeah,
at,
yeah.
what did you say, 12 years old?
yeah, and that
Jeez.
he said that her hands were just, not normal.
She had them work hands.
Yeah. And deputies said that a third child who belonged to the stepmother, who has special needs, was found alive in the home. He was taken to the hospital to be checked out. They're unclear of how they were killed, and I don't know why, because it seemed like Mary had only been missing a short amount of time, so maybe it just wasn't.
He's just like an angry drunk Santa that he just like
I
went too
guess
far
so.
this year. He's like, I don't want to fucking buy any gifts for you.
Yeah, but the son had been gone for 2 years.
Oh, for 2
2 years. Yeah. The son was missing in 2016, and then Mary was missing October of 18.
Maybe he was like,
Recent.
maybe
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it like one.
Well, this was
I'll
just
do it for
last
one.
week.
I'll do one kid,
Yeah, this whole story it broke last week.
and then for 2 years he's like, all right, I can't do any. I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to dispatch.
So they charged the family. Well, okay, they charged the father with murder, the stepmother, step-grandmother with concealing the death and cruelty to children in the first degree. The step-grandmother's boyfriend has the same charges along with possession of a controlled substance.
Like they were all up in that house all the time.
They all
too.
knew what was going on. Yeah, they all lived there together.
all
So,
complicit
I mean, they were
motherfuckers.
all, I think they're all guilty of murder. If you're watching someone murder someone, a child, you're just as guilty as the dude who did it.
In some states, if you're like just with somebody and someone somehow dies, you're charged with
Yeah,
murder.
I mean,
In Europe, they have that. I think it's not called the Good Samaritan law, or maybe it is, but they have there's certain laws over there that if you have to do something if somebody's in trouble, like
It's like willful ignorance, I think it's called.
Yeah, you can't you have to intervene. You can't just let stuff happen.
And I think in Asia, it's the opposite. Like if somebody is struck by a vehicle and you try to help them and they end up dying, you could be held responsible.
ugh.
Really?
So that's like sometimes like if you've ever seen videos on the
Yeah,
internet.
that's what I was about to say. I've seen the video.
Yeah, like people just keep walking. They're like, fuck that. I'm not trying. No blood on my hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all four suspects are in the county jail without bond. Investigators are still trying to make sense of the case and hope that the helps from the children's mother, who lives in South Carolina and is homeless, will help them figure some stuff out. I don't know what she's going to add to the story because obviously she's
What state are they in again? Sorry. Wisconsin, was it?
Yeah.
And she's in homeless woman from South Carolina.
Yeah, she lives in South Carolina. But the biggest question people are asking is, how did this little boy go missing for 2 years? And nobody said anything.
He's fucking. Well, he's taken out
Well,
to be
that's it.
homeschooled.
But it's, even if you're, in my mind, if you're taking your child out to be homeschooled, they still need some kind of visit, to make sure they're doing what needs to be done.
Man, you wouldn't think that would be necessary, though.
No, you wouldn't. But good parents don't need that. But
Unfortunately.
so that's the sad Santa story.
Yeah. Holy shit. All right.
The whole time I was picturing that being taking place in like the 30s, and then she said 2016.
No, it
Started in
was-
2016. They just
yeah.
found the bodies like last week, 2018.
Yeah.
Well, goddamn. What town was it? Did you find it?
from Georgia.
From Georgia. Okay. Sorry, I don't know why I needed to know that. Well, good story, Mama Shai. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
stellar.
you. Stellar tale.
Thanks.
So I guess we'll jump back into Joseph Paul Franklin. Joseph Franklin, old Franklin, Joey F. So August 7th, 1977, he goes to Madison, Wisconsin, with the full intent to shoot a judge named Archie Simonson. Archie had Archie was a judge who had laid down a sentence for 2 black men who had been charged with raping a young woman, and Franklin thought that the charge was much too light. So he read about it in one of his white supremacist newspapers. That was like a lot of the propaganda they had in the newspapers. They would report on black crime constantly. So when you're only getting the bad news, I'm not justifying their hatred, but that's all that is in there. There's no other differentiating opinion. So he goes to Madison to shoot Archie Simonson, the judge who gave the light sentence. Instead, he gets sidetracked and shoots an interracial couple that he sees just walking down the street. Alphonse Manning Jr. and Tony Schwinn. Actually, sorry, they weren't walking down the street. This is a different one. This is another one where he was following behind him, honking his horn because he saw a black man and a white woman. Said, "Fuck that." So, Alphonse Manning was like, "Dude, what the fuck?" And would speed up, and then he would speed. Franklin would speed up and honk behind him. Alphonse Manning would take a sharp right, and he would keep following. And so finally, Alphonse Manning pulls over in a parking lot. And is like, "What the fuck does this guy want?" So before he can even get out, Franklin is ran over and is just spraying bullets into the. So Alphonse Manning does eventually step out, but he had already been hit, and so he was down. He was not getting back up, and it looked like perhaps Tony Schwinn might be still alive. So as Franklin fled, he fired 4 or 5 more shots into the cab at Tony Schwinn. They would both eventually die. So. We're escalating, ladies and gentlemen.
The more I hear about this guy, the more of a jerk he seems.
Yeah, it's just gonna keep
less of a nice guy.
In a thing like that, is he just going after the black guy because he doesn't want an interracial couple?
Yeah, that's exactly it. He's this should not be happening.
But that one,
him,
he shot the white woman.
Yeah, but to him, the one white woman who's dating a black man is just as bad
tainted to him.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, in his mind.
So it's not just I'm going to kill the black guy for taking a white woman.
It's this couple shouldn't exist. I'm gonna eradicate them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's what in his mind. That's what he's been fed. That's what he believes. He'll say later, he has some jailhouse interviews where he's like, I didn't have the other views to see it differently. I didn't know that there were other views. To me, this was right. And I think we've talked about this in very recent episodes, the small town effect. Sometimes you come from a small town and that's just there's one opinion in that small town and that's all you know. You didn't even realize there were other options until it's too late sometimes. Not an excuse at all, but I think that's kind of what he's claiming here is this is all he really knew. He didn't get food. He didn't get love. He was beat, and all he read was Nazi newspapers, and then sold and distributed them himself. It's a bag of shit. He shoots them in a parking lot in Easttown Mall in Madison, Wisconsin. Early 1977, he's going to rob a bank in Little Rock, Arkansas. So remember what I said? He's just he sees himself as an outlaw. We kind of talked about this. At this point, he's super into it. He's wearing full cowboy regalia at some of these bank robberies.
It's pretty fun. He's wearing cowboy stuff.
He's looking he looks very outlaw. He's wearing button down shirt and a hat and a pair of boots, and he's just I don't know if he's wearing spurs, but he's definitely trying to adopt an outlaw look. So later in 1977, after the last robbery in Little Rock, Arkansas, he's going to drive to Dallas, Texas, and buy a Remington 30-06. So up to this point, he's kind of done some drive-bys. He's done some fire bombings, but for him, I think his idea was I'll feel most comfortable if I'm far away. Mm-hmm. So a lot of what we're going to see here is these people didn't even know
what was coming.
They all think a lot of these people just were sitting there eating and then end up dying. So.
Coward.
Mad coward. He's already a coward, but even worse. So he shoots that couple. Yep. He buys the 30-06 in Dallas. He robs a bank in Columbus, Ohio with that new purchase rifle. That was just a few months late, 3 months after purchasing the rifle. October 8th, 1977, he took up a sniper position with a new Remington 700 that he had purchased. The sniper position was a perch just across the street from a synagogue in St. Louis, Missouri. Inside was a bat mitzvah. So there's a bat mitzvah happening, and he just sets up. And he talks about how he had his gun, and he put a nail in the post and used that to like prop his gun up so he didn't have so much sway. So he kind of tells you, you know, his process here. He also says that, well, I think we kind of get to it. Takes up the sniper position. As people start to exit, he begins to shoot. During the shooting, he would kill Gerald Gordon, who was 42, and seriously wounds William Ash, who was 30. So that's it. Just the two people are hit, but one is killed, one's seriously wounded. A few months later, 4 months later, February 1978, he kills Johnny Brookshire, who is 22, and wounds and paralyzes his girlfriend, Joy Williams, in Atlanta, Georgia. Should go without saying, Johnny Brookshire was an African-American gentleman. Joy Williams was a white woman. They were just walking down the street together. He saw them holding hands and opened fire without warning. To him, he thought that he was doing right, you know, according to his literature. And, you know, it's kind of what we were saying. He loves the idea of a race war. Like, we need to get this started. It needs to be blacks versus whites versus Jews. And, you know, the supreme race will rise up. That's exactly what he believes. And that's exactly what he believes is correct. Question number 5. He's going to set his sights on someone in the public eye this time around. Who is he going to attempt to kill next? Is it A, Larry Flint? B, Ronald Reagan? C, he goes back for Archie Simonson, who he skipped before, that judge, and the mayor of his hometown, who is publicly for civil rights? Larry Flint, Ronald Reagan, Archie Simonson, the judge from before, or the mayor of his hometown who is pro-civil rights? Clayton says Ronald Reagan. Shai says the mayor of his hometown is publicly for civil rights. Nobody's getting points because if you guys will recall, March 6, 1978, Hustler magazine publisher Larry Flint was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia.
I don't remember.
He was ambushed with, that's why he's in a wheelchair. Yeah.
That's funny. That's the least. I figured that one.
That was
That was the throwaway.
Yes.
Yeah. So he also wounded his lawyer Gene Reeves, who later recovered fine. He shot them with a extended, like he essentially set up a 44 mag with a longer rifled scope and a butt and so he got to get a sniper position on these guys. He didn't like Ronald Reagan ambush him. He just from a distance used his 44 and shot Larry Flint multiple times in the lower back, and I believe he shot Gene Reeves in the back and chest. No points for you guys. Still tied up at 500. Larry Flint was shot. You guys, come on, Hustler. Why was Larry Flint shot, you ask? Interracial sex was had just been featured in a recent Hustler magazine for the first time. Not a fan was Joseph Paul Franklin.
Well, he didn't like
but
that.
That means he was reading Hustler.
Yeah.
He was reading it for the articles.
Yeah, there was no internet in
There are
1978.
absolutely no articles in Hustler.
Yeah. Maybe Playboy.
It's not like Playboy. There are zero.
I've
articles
never
in
looked
Hustler.
at a Hustler.
Me neither, but I've heard terrible things.
Okay,
about
great.
Only swung by FetLife, right? So, in 1978, he's going to rob a bank in Louisville, Kentucky. Later the year, he's going to rob a bank in Atlanta, Georgia. And on July 29th, 1978, he hid near Pizza Hut in Chattanooga, Tennessee, hung out for a while, and shot and killed Bryant Tatum, an African-American man, with a 12-gauge shotgun. He also shot Tatum's white girlfriend, Nancy Hilton, who survived. So they exited the Pizza Hut, and he just waited for him nearby, but not real close, and shot him with a shotgun multiple times. I believe he had 5 in the chamber and unloaded all 5 at them. Oh. So, yes, again, Bryant Tatum was murdered, and Nancy Hilton, the white girlfriend, survived. In 1978, he robs a bank in Montgomery, Alabama. You see why there's like not a lot of questions right now? He's just fucking on a roll. He's like, rob bank, murder some black and white people, rob bank, look for a Jew to beat up. Like, this is where his mindset is. That's literally his mission. So he is going to return to Alabama, to Mobile after robbing the bank in Montgomery. He meets Anita Cardin, who is 16. He's now 28, by the way. This isn't like when he was 18 and met the 16-year-old. At an ice cream shop, and they began dating. So in 1979, Franklin and Anita would get married in DeKalb County Courthouse in Atlanta, Georgia. So she, I believe, was 17 during the time of the marriage. He's 29. July 12th, 1979, Taco Bell manager Harold McIver, a black man, was fatally shot through a window from 150 yards away by a .30-30 rifle in Doraville, Georgia. Franklin confessed, but was not tried or sentenced for this crime. Franklin said that McIver was in close contact with many white women, so he murdered him so he could not be able to anymore. You see what I mean? This
Don't think that's a reason to kill someone.
fucking asshole. Yeah, we got to cover them all, though. August 18th, 1979, he kills Raymond Taylor at a Burger King in Falls Church, Virginia, with that same .30-30, another sniper-style killing from 100-plus yards away. Why is he pinpointing fast food spots? It's like Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, McDonald's,
Yeah.
Burger King. He's just trying to hit all the main ones and make sure he gets somebody in each. It seems like he's got a little thing going. August 25th, 1979. Guys, some good news in all of this. He has his first child in Montgomery, Alabama. How fucking
yay.
sweet, with his
Wonder if he's
17-year-old
gonna
wife.
pass it down.
How old is he right now?
29.
Oh.
17-year-old wife. October 21st, 1979. He's still 29 years old. He shoots and kills a mixed-race couple, Jerry Taylor and Marianne Vera Brissett, who was 31, and they were 42 and 31, respectively. This was in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. So he's just fucking drifting around. Like, I understand that, a lot of people drive through these states, and it's not very uncommon. But we've really only gone like a year and a half since the beginning of this spree, and he's just
Working his way.
December 5th, 1979, he cheats on his wife with a sex worker and then promptly kills that sex worker. Question number 6. Why did he kill the sex worker? Was it A, just a random killing? B, he didn't want his wife to find out? C, he didn't agree with her sex worker lifestyle? Or D, she admitted that she had been with a black man? A random killing, didn't want his wife to find out, didn't agree with her sex worker lifestyle, or she admitted that she had been with a black man. Clayton says, didn't agree with her lifestyle. Shai says, she admitted that she had been with a black man. Joseph Paul Franklin killed Mercedes Masters, who is a 15-year-old sex worker, after she admitted to having interracial relations.
Wow.
Shai gets 250 points there and takes her first lead of the game. 750 to 500. 2 questions left. Like I said, not a long one. So, he's with Mercedes Masters. It's already fucking tragic, right? She's a 15-year-old sex worker. He's 30 years old at this point. She's half her age. He has sex with her, and he's like asking her about, the life. And he's like, hey, you ever sleep with some black guys?
She has no idea she's walking into being murdered.
Right. And then she says yes, and he was like, oh,
I'm gonna
interesting.
off you little 15-year-old. Poor thing.
Pretty much what happened. So on January 8th, 1980, he kills Lawrence Reese, who was 22, at KFC. So another
fast
one.
food.
Yeah. He was shot once in
Got
the
a groove
chest.
going.
Yep. Shot once in the chest from 100 yards away with a .30-30. On January 14th, just 6 days later, he kills Leo Thomas Watkins, who was 19, through a plate glass window of a convenience store in Indianapolis, Indiana, in a shopping mall. This was also done from over 100 yards away with a .30-30. So this guy is just a football field away, sniping people who are just like in a store or in a restaurant eating, or standing at the counter paying for their.
I gotta give it to him though. He's gotta be pretty sneaky. It's hard to sleuth around with a .30-30 after shooting. You know what I mean? That's pretty loud.
Yeah, I think the chaos just happens, and that's when you escape. Yeah, no doubt. But I also think that he chose spots where he wasn't easily he would find spots on roofs.
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but he was pretty pro. April of 1980, Franklin and his wife Anita separate. What? What do you think happened, you guys? May 2nd, 1980, he kills a hitchhiking student, Rebecca Bergstrom, in Mill Bluff State Park, Wisconsin. Why did he do this killing? Because she said that she was dating a Jamaican man. Right. Not acceptable.
Jamaican me crazy, man.
Yes, a mom joke. Very rare, but there it is. Yeah, so she admitted to having a Jamaican boyfriend, and he took offense to that, obviously. She was hitchhiking through a state park, and he went ahead and killed her, and since they were in a state park, had a very nice
I wonder
place
if when
to
he
hide her.
picks people up or does this, if he knows the questions he's going to ask them, thinking, I'm going to kill them if they give me the answer I want.
100%. That's what I think. I think he just like somehow, some way gets to, hey, you ever been with a black guy? You know any black? You hang out with black people? And if you have, then
You're done.
You get killed. Yeah.
What's
Sorry.
the like number at now?
I want to say we're at 11 or 12. Yeah. May 29th, 1980, Franklin shoots and seriously wounds civil rights activist and Urban League president Vernon Jordan after seeing him with a white woman in Fort Wayne, Indiana. He was waiting across from the hotel on the roof of another and was only able to shoot Jordan in the back as he walked away. Franklin initially denied any part of the crime and was acquitted, but would later confess and pretty much give details that someone who wasn't the perpetrator would not have known. So they believed him. June 8th, 1980, Franklin confesses to killing cousins Darrell Lane, who was 14, and Dante Evans Brown, who was 13, in Cincinnati, Ohio. He was waiting on an overpass to shoot a racially mixed couple, saw the two young black males walking down the street, became enraged just by the sight of them, and decided to shoot and kill them. 14 and 13, just walking down the street. June 15th, a week later, 1980, Franklin shot and killed Arthur Smothers, who was 22, and Kathleen McCullough, who was 16, with a high-powered rifle as the couple walked across the Washington Street Bridge in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Smothers was a black woman, McCullough was white, and on the day of the murder, Franklin took a concealed position on a wooded hillside overlooking downtown Johnstown and waited for potential targets to enter his line of sight. He was never arrested for these murders, but would later confess during a jailhouse interview after he was apprehended. So, like, this is how prolific he was. Is he's like running around the country doing murders. They catch him for, whatever they're charging him with at the end. And he's like, oh, yeah, by the way, that one over here in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, that was me. Those two were me, actually. If you look at this one right here, you guys know about that one? Well, remember that day when this guy did this and this and this and this and this? That was definitely me. And they're like, fuck. So, and he doesn't do it at once. We'll see that, like, he gets arrested. Can't remember what year, but he just keeps admitting to him. Like, he's in prison. He's like, oh yeah, by the way, I got another couple tidbits. And there are serial confessors. We know, like, Henry Lee Lucas admits to, like, maybe 1,000 murders, It seems to me that most of his were corroborated. Like, he had
They
either
could prove that he did his.
right after he said it was him and gave them ideas on where to look, they were able to find evidence, or he had
Knowledge that no one else would have known.
Exactly that. So he's a fuckface. September 24th, 1980. Hey, following the two murders in Utah, Franklin returned to the Midwestern U.S. Traveling through Kentucky, he was detained and questioned regarding a firearm that he was transporting in his car. Franklin fled from this interrogation, but authorities recovered sufficient evidence from the vehicle to point suspicions that potentially linked him to the sniper killings. His quite distinct racist tattoos, coupled with his habit of visiting blood banks for money as well as regular banks, led investigators to issue a nationwide alert to blood banks. In October of 1980, the tattoos drew the attention of a Florida blood bank worker who contacted the FBI. So this worked. They put an APB out at all the blood banks because they know this guy goes and sells plasma for $15 a pop or whatever, and some gas
Keep
money
an
to
eye
get down
out.
the road. Why don't we tell every blood bank in America, keep fucking out for this guy? And it took, all but just a few weeks, and someone recognized him because of his swastika tattoo on his neck and wherever. Yeah, he was very, very distinct in his ways, as most of them tend to be.
Yeah, they're generally not conserved people,
Not that I've noticed either.
He does seem like the kind of guy who'd stand out a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So, after the nurse or blood bank worker contacted the FBI, Franklin was then arrested in Lakeland on October 28th, 1980. So it took less than a month. It was just a few weeks before he was recognized and eventually arrested. Franklin tried to escape during the judgment of his 1997 Missouri trial on charges of murdering Gerald Gordon, but he was convicted of the murder charge. I'm going to kind of go through a lot of shit here because he has a lot of different trials as we roll through. During this trial, the psychiatrist Dorothy Otnow Lewis, who had interviewed him at length, testified to the defense that she believed that he was a paranoid schizophrenic and unfit to stand trial. Lewis noted his delusional thinking and a childhood history of severe abuse. I'm fucking tired, man. I'm sorry. November 7th, 1980, he was extradited to Salt Lake City, Utah, and arraigned for the murders of Ted Fields and David Martin. On March 4th, 1981, he had a federal trial and was convicted of violating the civil rights of Fields and Martin and sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences. June 2nd, 1981, he has a state trial and convicted of killing Fields and Martin and sentenced to 2 more life sentences due to a hung jury regarding the death penalty. He had an attempted escape, but was recaptured and sent to a medical center for federal prisoners in Springfield, Missouri. January 31st, 1982, he's now 32 years old. He's transferred to the United States Penitentiary in Marion, Illinois, to begin serving his life sentences. He now has 4. February 3rd, 1982, he's 32 years old, gets into a little tiny baby skirmish with a group of African-American males in the prison and is stabbed 15 times in the neck and abdomen, but unfortunately survives. I think it was, a small shank. It doesn't go deep, but it hurts a lot. 1983, if they wanted to kill him, they would have killed him. I mean, that's what I think. I think make him suffer a lot was their idea. 1983, he's 33 years old. He's going to confess to shooting Larry Flint and bombing Morris Amate's house in Washington, D.C. We're going to get into his confessions here. March 1st of 84, he confesses to the murder of Rebecca Bergstrom and of Santamero and Durian, the Chattanooga synagogue bombing that he tried in July and sentenced to 15 to 20 years for bombing and 6 to 10 years for possession of explosives, the Rainbow Synagogue murders, and shooting Alphonse Manning and Tony Schwen. So he's just 84. He was like, hey, also there's 12 murders I'm responsible for I need to tell you about. Okay. And they're like, yeah, God damn it. February 14th, Valentine's Day, 1986, he's convicted in Wisconsin of killing Manning and Schwen. He's sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences. So now he has 6. August 19th, 1990, he's 40 years old. He admits to killing Ted Fields and David Martin in Salt Lake City, Utah. June 4th of 1993, Jacob Beard is found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder for the Rainbow murders of Santamero and Durian, although Franklin had confessed to the murder. So some other guy has gone into these murders that Franklin was like, no, I did that.
Wow.
And so they found evidence to support that it was this man, Jacob Beard. So he goes into prison for the crime.
Even though
they didn't have evidence to support his serial confessing, because that's what they think he's doing. Like, yep, that was me too. Yep, that was me too.
Okay.
And so they're like, no, we have evidence for this Jacob Beard guy. But later it'll turn out that they definitely did not. 1994, Franklin confesses finally to killing Gerald Gordon at the synagogue. In 1995, he admits to shooting Vernon Jordan. On November 18th of 1996, he tells Deborah Dixon from WKRC Cincinnati that he killed Santamero and Durian because, quote, they dated black people.
Why? I'm just curious. Does he ever say why he doesn't just sit down once and here's my laundry list of what I did? It seems like he's just sporadically going.
Well, I think...
Is it to keep the attention on him?
It's to keep packs of cigarettes in a cell. And it's to keep, it's to keep...
I'll tell you my story if you give me...
he starts running out, or they start tightening up the line on him. He's like, hey, you put a color TV in here and 4 cartons of cigarettes. I might be able to tell you about 12 murders, 6 murders that I can prove right now.
Okay.
And they're like, fuck, man. Get this stupid fucking asshole a color TV and some cigarettes. We need to, it's important to close these cases.
Yeah,
and if not, close them and,
give
try
the
them.
family
Because this happens a
closure.
lot where a serial killer kills 28 people. And he's tried for 4 of the murders, and the rest is like, yeah, we understand he did this, but we're not going to do 24 more cases. So the people of those victims, the family of those victims, are generally very upset because
they feel
they
understand
understand what happens, but they didn't get justice, right? So February 27th, 1997, he is found guilty of killing Gerald Gordon. At this point, he has 7 life sentences and then some, with all those years that have been tacked on too. What will he be charged for this one? This is the killing of Gerald Gordon outside of the synagogue. Is it going to be an additional life sentence, a death penalty, 25 to 40 years additional, or 15 to 25 years additional? Is it an additional life sentence, a death penalty, 25 to 40, or 15 to 25? Clayton says 25 to 40. Oh, no, 15 to 25. Shai says they added a death sentence. Shai's going to stretch out her league because, yes, with the killing of Gerald
About
Gordon
time.
Ridiculous.
outside of
Well, I
the
mean,
synagogue.
it's about time he gets death.
Yeah. He gets a death sentence. Not so tied up, but just wait. Just wait. With one more question left, let me see if there is a stab opportunity, Clayton. So you could still theoretically win. I would just wait for the multiple choice in your case. This has happened to you before.
Oh, yeah. I suck at stabs.
So
The stabs. What?
before the multiple choice options happen, you can guess, and you'll get 1,000 points if you do that. So you can still win because you're down 1,000 to 500.
Okay.
You can still do this. Okay.
And I've got a good tiebreaker in store, so you know.
I don't think there's any way for it to be a tie, though. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So on March 10th, 1997, he's been sentenced to this death sentence. He's going to start admitting a few more things, I think, trying to make things better for him. He admits to killing Raymond Taylor. On March 13th of the same year, he admits to murdering Arthur Smothers and Kathleen McCullough. Later, he confesses to murdering Darrell Lane and Dante Evans Brown. 6 months later, he's found guilty of murdering Darrell Lane and Dante Evans Brown and sentenced to 40 years to life in prison for both of those killings. In 1998, he admits to killing William Tatum and pleads and receives 2 concurrent life sentences, one for murder and one for robbery. March of 1998, he confesses to killing sex worker Mercedes Masters and Harold McIver, who had been sitting at, I believe that was a Burger King. On November 1st, 1999, he confesses to killing Johnny Brookshire in 1978, 21 years after the murder. So, look, we're talking, this is only 2 years after he's been sentenced. He's just like, please fucking don't let me die. I'll tell you about all these other ones too. And, you stop me from getting killed, right? They're like, ooh.
No.
So, in the year 2000, Jacob Beard is retried for the Rainbow murders and found not guilty. So after spending 7 years in prison and Franklin kind of going to bat for him, very small liner note of positivity for him, saying like, this guy's not guilty. We need to get this guy out of prison. And they did. So Jacob Beard was retried for the Rainbow murders, found not guilty, and released from prison. In 2004, the U.S. District Court requires Missouri to release or retry Franklin for the Gerald Gordon murder. That was the one outside the synagogue. Question number 8. You're going to have to stab. In what year will Joseph Paul Franklin die? You have to stab to be able to win. So just guess a year.
Do I? I say it.
No, you can write it down because Shai is going to take the multiple choice options.
Okay.
Yeah, write it down. Clayton needs this to win. Even if you get it right on a multiple choice, Shai, Clay will win. So if you want to stab, you can. Can't hurt. Okay, you got yours? Don't say it. All right, Shai, is it? Don't change yours. 2005, 2007, 2011, 2013, 2018, or is he still alive? Shai says that he is still alive. Clayton, did you say any of those multiple choice options?
I said 2007.
Clayton said 2006. So Clayton said one of the multiple choice options. How about that? It's neither. So Shai is going to win this episode.
Ridiculous.
Good guess though. It was on the
Yeah.
It was on the list. Yeah, did you get all oh shit when I said it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so instead of just telling you the answer, I'll just tell you Clayton didn't get it. You didn't get it either, but you won. Congratulations, Mama Shai. Is this your first win?
No.
No,
Okay.
she's beat me before, I believe.
Okay. That's what we got to do is just bring Clayton for you to get it done.
Yeah, that's the only way I win.
So instead of telling you the year right off the bat, let's give you the final of this story. In 2008, he's now 58 years old. The U.S. Supreme Court decides that the current method of execution, which was lethal injection, is constitutionally impermissible. Franklin's execution was affected by the European Union export ban when the German drug manufacturer Fresenius Kabi was obliged to refuse having their drugs used for lethal injections. You guys might remember this. I don't know if you they were saying, yeah, well, this drug does that, but that's not what it's for.
Made for.
We're not going to send it to you if you're going to use it to fucking kill people. So
How funny would that have been if he would have been killed with the German drug, though?
in response, Missouri announced that it would use for Franklin's execution, a new method of lethal injection, which used a single drug provided by an unnamed compounding pharmacy. A day before his execution, U.S. District Judge Nanette Lowry of Jefferson City granted a stay of execution over concerns raised about the new method of execution. A second stay was granted that evening by U.S. District Judge Carol E. Jackson of St. Louis based on Franklin's claim that he was too mentally incompetent to be executed. So there's some motherfuckers getting him some stays. 2. He, in fact, gets 2 on this day.
That's crazy.
An appeals court quickly overturns both stays, and the Supreme Court subsequently rejects his final appeal. In an interview with the St. Louis Post-Dispatch newspaper published on November 17, 2013, Franklin said he had renounced his racist views. He said his motivation had been, quote, illogical, and was partly a consequence of an abusive upbringing. He said he had interacted with black people in prison, adding, quote, I saw that they were people just like us. Franklin was executed at Eastern Reception Diagnostic and Correctional Center in Bonne Terre, Missouri on November 20th, 2013. I want to play you guys a little clip here too, actually. Should have it queued up.
Horrible crime that I committed and ask for her forgiveness. You know, that's what I would say to Miss Gordon now. I really feel for her.
He's talking about the wife. I'll give it snap in, but
I also, I talked with, I did not talk with Mrs. Gordon, but I talked with the young man who was having his bar mitzvah that day.
Yeah, I feel,
He was
sorry
pretty
for that.
traumatized by all
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it's a horrible thing for a young lad
it's
like
coming up
that.
in the next 20
You
seconds.
know, when he's going through his bar mitzvah. You know, but I was so mentally ill and crazy. That's the type of thing I was led into, you know, through Nazism.
Do you think you deserve to die?
Well, to tell you the truth, I actually think I do, yeah. To be quite honest with you. I cannot I cannot say no to that question.
That's a tough thing to face, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So pretty heavy. I mean, you know, I know a lot of people turn it around in prison and find God, and I think that's exactly what he did. Doesn't mean anything he did is fucking right.
Yeah.
It's good that he like has some feelings about it and understands that it was fucked and, you know, is sorry, or so he says. I would probably be saying whatever I could to not be executed very soon. But yeah, so the execution began at 6:07 a.m. and he was pronounced dead at 6:17. His execution was the first lethal injection in Missouri to use pentobarbital alone instead of the conventional 3-drug cocktail. An AP agency report said that 5 grams of the barbiturate pentobarbital was administered. Franklin was pronounced dead 10 minutes later, and 3 media witnesses said Franklin did not seem to show pain. He did not make any final written statement and did not speak a word in the death chamber. After the injection, he blinked a few times, breathed heavily a few times, swallowed hard, and then the heaving of his chest slowed and finally stopped. So that was the end of Joseph Paul Franklin.
I just think they should be taken out the way they took people out.
So Shai will go medieval on your ass. That's what eye for an eye.
Why can't they just give him an embolism? Boop.
Yeah.
Hey, mine just had air in it.
Exactly.
So that was it. That's Joseph Paul Franklin. Changed his name to be a little more racist. Real asshole. I think the final total they give him is somewhere between 15 and 25. So it's large. I think he was charged with 9 or 10. Anything else you guys would like to throw out there here at the end?
He's a piece of shit.
Agreed.
Well put.
Clayton, anything you got to add?
Yeah, he doesn't seem like a good guy. Or didn't seem like a good guy.
I agree. hellagreg.
No, I think I'm good.
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 Then that'll be good. Just a quick reminder, you guys, follow us on social medias, rate and review on everything. Look out for some of the stuff coming down the pipe in the new year. This will come out in the new year, but, you know, this will come out right before you guys get to hear Super Simpsons show take off. There's a lot of things happening here at Sight Unseen Podcast Radio Network. From the Super Network, for hellagreg, Mama Shai, and Clay.
Yep.
Don't talk to strangers.
Bye.
This has been another presentation from Super Network.